Hello again. When I saw an advertisement a few weeks ago for a project manager to organise decolonising collections at the National Museum of Wales, I toyed with the idea of applying for the post. After all, there are a few lines at work which I have not tried my hand at some time or other in my life, and how difficult can it be anyway to decolonise something? On reading the advertisement thoroughly, though, and I give a link to it in the description to this video, I found a serious problem. Although the words themselves were English, they didn't seem to make any sense. Now, although I have no experience in that field, I know roughly what an architect does, to give one example. Similarly, I have a pretty good idea of what being a motor mechanic involves, even if I couldn't actually do it. But what on earth does a project manager in charge of decolonising collections in a museum do? Let's run through the specification for the job and see if other people will be able to understand what it's all about. Perhaps my intellectual abilities are deteriorating due to my advanced age, which is a depressing thought. Here's the first paragraph. You will be a key driver in making this change happen. You will be responsible for the planning, management and delivery of a programme of consultation with community partners to develop multiple perspectives of our current collections. The new understanding and narratives will form the basis of future approaches in the museum's collection and interpretation. You will be part of an experienced team of curatorial staff who are committed to the delivery of the decolonisation charter. They will work alongside you and provide support while also making sure that you have the resources you need. You do not need to have previous experience of working in a museum. Staff will help you develop your knowledge of the collection and introduce you to museum work in general. Well, all that I can grasp from this is that you don't need to know about museums to work in the National Museum of Wales, which I find, to say the least of it, a little surprising. But still, can anybody work out yet what the successful applicant will actually be doing? It continues. What you'll achieve? Well, that's promising. A clear definition of what decolonising collections means for the museums across Wales. Inform and change the way of thinking within museums across Wales. Improve community access and engagement with collections as part of this process. I'm not sure how you improve community access. Those museums are all free. There's disabled access. They're all available. Anybody can walk into them, so I don't really understand that bit. Develop multiple perspectives to support a better understanding and new meanings of the collections. A plan for how collections should be used in the future and how relevant communities should be an integral part in creating new histories. I don't like the sound of creating new histories. A new understanding of what these museums should collect to make sure that communities experiencing racial inequalities are represented in the future. I'm still not getting it really. I gather that it entails talking to black people, but other than that I'm still in the dark. It then goes on to say how you'll achieve this. Well, let's see. Support the delivery of the Charter for Decolonising the Collections. Identify and cultivate opportunities for broadening input into the project through the development of relevant networks. Work with communities of relevance to ensure that they are central to the process of decolonising the collections. Work with curatorial staff to shape and deliver a comprehensive programme of consultation with communities of relevance. Identify ways to raise public awareness of decolonisation issues. Develop and support a series of workshops and consultation events to inform the decolonisation programme. Work with museums throughout Wales and with the Federation of Welsh Museums to develop and support the evaluation of their collections and how to begin the work of decolonisation. Can you see what it is yet? I will not weary viewers by reading out any more of this truly extraordinary document. It really does read like a parody. And whoever wrote it seemed to have the idea that the purpose of language is to obscure meaning rather than to reveal it. I have a horrible suspicion that the people who drew up this advertisement didn't know either what they expected the new project manager to achieve. The word had come down from on high that decolonisation was flavour of the month, and they knew that they had to do something about it. Since they didn't know themselves what the process of decolonising a museum looked like, since nobody has done this before, they felt it was safe to bluff and pretend that they knew what they were talking about. I'm guessing that they are hoping frantically that somebody who applies for the job will know what the hell it is all about and then tell them. They will then fall upon him in gratitude and hand him £50,000 a year to decolonise stuff. From all that I'm able to apprehend, altering the labels on some exhibits and sticking others out of the way in the basement would probably be a large part of the work. That and sobbing about the slave trade and starving Africans and so on. If you have some old brass object from Benin, which says on the label, piece of artwork from Benin, all you need to do is just add a bit on the end saying it was stolen from a poor African by a wicked imperialist and the job is done. Any oil paintings of white men from the 18th century can safely be removed from show and bunged up into the loft. They're sure to have had something to do with slavery or colonialism, or they wouldn't be in the museum in the first place. I'm kicking myself now for not applying for this post, especially as I plan to be spending a lot more time in Wales over the next couple of years. I bet I'd make as good a job of it as anybody else. The only problem is, of course, that I'm an old white man. I strongly suspect that this post will be given to a young black woman, somebody whom nobody will dare challenge or ask too many questions about what she's doing with her time. The important thing is that some member of the Welsh Government will be able to tell a newspaper reporter in a few weeks that they are actually decolonising stuff. Whether or not what is being done is sensible or effective is really beside the point.